Well, we always say retirement is a journey, one that you shouldn't have to navigate solo. So that is why every week here on The Right Path to Retirement, we turn to financial advisor Jimmy Lin, certified financial planner and the founder of Right Path Wealth Management right here in Las Vegas. How much can I spend each month once I begin retirement so that I do not run out of money? Christine Benz over at Morningstar says they took everything into account and came up with this percentage pool for the year 2026. Let's take a listen.
We came out with 3.9% as a safe starting withdrawal for people who have an approximately 30-year time horizon. But my hope is that people don't just take that 3.9 or 4% and run with it, because in many scenarios that will lead to significant underspending and really depriving themselves of a better quality of life that they could otherwise have.
So Christine went on to say that flexible spending strategies might work better than a percentage number for withdrawals. So Jimmy, I'm just wondering if you can explain what she's talking about here. And is this something that you use for new retirees that come and see you?
Yeah, there's a concept that a lot of people kind of start with called the 4% rule. And it's a very basic concept that says that when you retire, whatever amount you have of assets that you're going to utilize for retirement, you could safely withdraw 4% out of that every year. And the likelihood of you running out of money is very slim based on historical numbers. So if you had $1 million, 4% rule means that you can take out $40,000 a year as your income in retirement. But that is a very rigid plan, which is exactly what Christine is saying, is that if you just have that 4% rule, you can get yourself in trouble if you have a down year where the market's not doing well, but you're still taking out that 4% for consecutive years. Because it's, oftentimes it means you're locking in losses, not allowing your portfolio to rebound. And at the same time, there are going to be situations where the market is doing well and you still stick to this rigid 4% rule. So it's kind of an antiquated strategy. The more flexibility that we utilize in our office is a concept called guardrails. And essentially what that means is that you're going to take money out every year based on what the market does. So if the market is doing well, you should get a pay raise. You should be able to add more money to your savings account to utilize for vacations or to spoil the grandkids or whatever you want to do. And you do this with the knowledge that if the market is having a pullback, if it's a little volatile, you may not get that raise this year. In fact, you might get a pay cut, which is that 3.9% that they alluded to. So being more dynamic in that sense, what it allows you to do is, ideally, I like to say for most of my clients, you don't want to be the richest person in the cemetery, right? You want to spend your money, because the risk of having a rigid plan is actually underspending in retirement. Having your portfolios grow, and then you get to 85 years old and you realize that you're never going to outspend your money, but there are a ton of experiences that you left on the table. So that's the importance of actually having a flexible income strategy. But starting point is having an income strategy, because I see a lot of people that don't even start with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm curious, when we talk about flexible spending here, what does that look like in real life for a brand new retiree? Is that more like adjusting with the market or adjusting with lifestyle changes? How do you find that looking for brand new retirees specifically?
Yeah, there could be a couple different ways to look at it. Part of it's going to be a baseline percentage of your assets. So, and you could start with the 4% rule, and then as markets change, you would adjust it. Now, you're also going to take into account how much you actually need in income. So some people don't need 4% of their assets because they have a pension or they have Social Security that's covering most of their expenses. So it's really, first of all, figuring out exactly what we need and then determining how much of that we're going to pull out from our portfolio to fill any gaps, but it has to be dynamic. So as the markets change, we're going to want to change with that as well. Now, I will say that as we're talking about new retirees, sometimes we look at retirement more of a life cycle. So it's not like a flat amount that you spend over your retirement years. Generally, we see something called the retirement smile, where you start off spending more because you're younger and healthier into retirement. Mm-hmm. So their first 10 years, you may spend a ton because you're trying to fill in all those vacations. But then as you get into your, let's say, early 80s, you slow down a bit, you're not spending as much. but then you go into your late 80s and you start spending a lot again because of health issues. So we see that kind of retirement smile spending pattern. So we definitely want to adjust to that and make sure that we are able to spend more money in those early years. And so, Casey, that really is the importance of sitting down with a professional that can map out your entire income plan and show you different scenarios that you have to be prepared for, and just understanding what your portfolio can handle to help basically sustain your retirement lifestyle. So that's, again, something that we do in our office. We do it all the time. It is a pillar of our retirement planning, is making sure that our clients have a solid income plan. If that is foreign to any of the listeners right now, or you just do not have a plan like that and your plan is just to pick away at a pile of money, give us a call, 702-744-8344. Get on my calendar and I can kind of walk you through that process.
This is where it really hits home, because most people do not know that number for themselves. So if you find yourself asking, how does this apply to me? Jimmy has a way for you to get that clarity on your own retirement paycheck. So it's time to pick up the phone, 702-744-8344. Teammates are standing by off the air. They are ready to find you the next convenient time on the calendar to talk directly with Jimmy for your very own complimentary retirement consultation. 702-744-8344 or online at rightpathwm.com. Jimmy, before we go today, I just want to take a moment to remember comedy legend Catherine O'Hara. She recently passed away at age 71, and in her career, she won 2 Emmys for SCTV and Schitt's Creek. But of course, for me especially, she will always be remembered as the mom in the Home Alone movies. And 2 years ago, she told Sunday Today that it was after making the Home Alone films that she found herself being confronted by a small child. Let's take a listen.
Like a little 8-year-old in a mall. Are you Kevin's mom? I said, well, yeah, I played Kevin's mom in a movie, yes. Why did you leave him? Sorry, it was in the script. So you left him twice. I know, I'm sorry. Isn't that called abandonment? Yes, I'm sorry.
So funny. But in real life, Catherine O'Hara said she considered being the mother to her own children as her true legacy. So, Jimmy, my question here for you is, if someone's true legacy is their family, how can you help them build an estate plan that protects both, not only their lifestyle, but also their families?
Well, that's an important concept that a lot of people do miss, because, we get busy in life. I'd say that the majority of the people that I meet with, and many of them are in their early to mid 60s, they don't have an estate plan. They just haven't gotten around to getting those that will or those trust documents in place and actually kind of creating a strategy for how they're going to leave a legacy. And I think that it starts with just sitting down and having a conversation, understanding, how money is going to flow if something happens to you and your spouse, because there are things that are foreign to many people, but are really impactful to people's estate. Things like probate. If you don't have your assets set up in an appropriate way, what's going to happen is your assets are going to be passed on to the court systems, and a judge is going to determine who gets the assets. And there's going to be a ton of delay and a ton of fees that are associated with that, all of which, or most of which, can be avoidable through proper planning ahead of time. So if you want to do your family and your legacy a favor, it starts with making sure you understand how your money is going to flow and whose hands are going to be touching it. Because there are ways of avoiding that just simply by getting some trust documents in place. A revocable trust is oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes something that people can benefit from in order to avoid that. Dealing with probate. Also, taking care of your family members, part of that is protecting their privacy. If you don't have your estate documents in place and you're leaving a significant estate to your loved ones, if you don't do it the proper way, it's going to be all public knowledge. And so you don't want people, seeing your loved ones after you're away as targets, because there's so many scams in place right now. So protecting your loved ones through creating the right documents, and then just understanding how things are going to flow from them, not only from transferring assets, but also from a tax perspective. I think that's the best way to leave a legacy, because you got to remember, when you pass away or when your spouse passes away, you're assuming that your loved ones are going to be heartbroken. It's going to be a pretty low point in their life. And you want to make that transition as easy as possible. So that's one of the most important things we do in our office is make sure that everybody understands their role in an estate transition. We have that all documented. I think that's really, really important if estate planning and legacy planning is important to you.
Do you find it turns out easier or better for your clients to incorporate their families into the conversation before they're gone? How often are you having the whole family sit down in your office to talk finances?
Yeah, we try to do that at least once, just so there's some type of introduction of who we are. We also create a binder for our clients that really kind of maps out exactly what the mom and dad have, how the money is going to flow, who to call when something happens, so that you have things like, and even if it's a married couple, because I've said this before, oftentimes we're engaged because it's a married couple and one of the spouses is not as engaged in the finances. And we want to make sure if that spouse is the one that is the surviving spouse, they're not left scrambling. What do I do about my pension? What do I do about Social Security? How do I pull money out to pay the bills? We make sure that that's all mapped out for whoever that surviving spouse is. So having a plan like that, and then like to your point, making sure that we've met with the loved ones that are going to be involved. So we're not a new face during one of the lowest points possibly in their life. They're not having to, meet a new person and understand who is this new person that's in my life. So yeah, that's an important part of our process.
Jimmy, as always, thank you so much for the breakdown today. You and I will be back next week, same time, same place, as always, with more retirement insight. But until then, I'm handing it back over to you. Take us out. Give us some parting wisdom today.
Well, it's the same as always, right? There's just one retirement, folks. You have one retirement in this lifetime. So give us a call and make sure that you are on that right path to retirement.
That is going to do it for us this week. We will be back next week, same time, same place, with more great insight from certified financial planner Jimmy Lin here on the right path to retirement. Take care.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Right Path Wealth Management. Right Path Wealth Management is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Right Path Wealth Management are not subject to investment advisory requirements. Investing involves risk, including potential loss of principal. Any reference to the protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing carrier. This radio podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It's not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decision, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Right Path Wealth Management is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Right Path Wealth Management.
Market Guard is a firm that provides investment signals as well as portfolio allocation recommendations, wide variety of model portfolios. Market Guard does not offer advice or enter into fiduciary relationships.